All right, high rollers, you've probably seen him on Twitch or YouTube, prolific on both mediums. You may have read one of his books. He's an elite poker player with close to $1 million in tournament earnings. He cashed 4 straight times in the World Series of Poker main event, and that does not include his 2008 showing where he was 165th in the World Championship out of roughly 7,000. That was the year of Peter Eastgate. Just last year, he was third at the Fallsview Classic for more than 70K. Evan Jarvis, our guest today at Grips Poker. Evan, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being our high roller today.
Oh, thank you, Derek. So nice to be here today. Such an honor, and I think that's got to be hands down the best introduction I've ever heard. I was feeling really good listening to that. If I could just add one small thing to sweeten the pie
Sure.
a bit, I know you did your background research and saw it with the third place finish. But I was actually part of a three-way deal when I had the chip lead, and that score was actually worth 162,000 Canadian.
Wow, you chopped it up.
Yeah, man, I chopped it up with probably the best player in Canada. If not the best, definitely top three, Mike Leah.
Go Leafs, go! That guy is an absolute killer at the poker table.
Yeah, dude, I was just happy to have the opportunity to make a deal because he is one of the people I definitely would not want to battle with three-handed or heads-up, so I was happy to take my money and roll.
And that's one of those situations where you got to feel good because you make the deal, you're still playing for the championship, but you end up third, so it was a good deal in the end.
And I think like in tournaments, when you get it to the very end, if you're actually fortunate enough to make it to the very end, and you think you're equal skill level with the players remaining, there isn't necessarily a lot of merit to playing that really super high variance poker in the end game when you have a chance to kind of lock up your equity and then play for the glory with no extra risk, all skill levels being close.
Well, listen, high rollers or gripsters today, I got to say, if you haven't checked out Evan's website, you should. It's www.gripst.com. Between the website, Evan, the live streams, the writing, the YouTube videos, and the poker, it seems like you put together for yourself a pretty slick operation, man. Well done. Congrats on that. I mean, you're busy.
Thank you, man. It definitely took, I feel like I put 10 years of work into it in the span of about 4, putting in tons of overtime because I just had so much passion going for me. I had so much fire going for me. I had to channel the energy somewhere, and I really wanted to improve my poker game, and I figured, what's the best way to learn something? The way to make it stick, and that's probably to teach others. So I said, all right, why don't I double down on my poker education and share it with others in the process, which is going to lead to me retaining more, learning more, and at the same time forcing me to be accountable to follow through on the things that I've always said I wanted to do but hadn't taken action on. And that's how I was able to release, I don't know what we're at now, like 600 videos over the span of like 4 or 5 years, and a similar amount of articles and a whole bunch more. But it definitely took its toll on me, which is why for most of 2016 I actually just had to take some time to myself, recover, recharge, and get realigned so I could continue to share good quality content moving forward and continue to have good energy and good motivation.
When it's your passion, it's almost like it's not a job. And I read that you were an avid studier right from the get-go, right from the moneymaker boom. You saw, hey, I like this, I can make money at it, and you delved right in. You think that's an important part of the game? I mean, nowadays, you have to stay on top of things, right?
I think it's absolutely essential. And even in the beginning, I think it was absolutely essential. It was just a matter of you didn't need to be quite as sharp to be a winning player, but you still had to be sharp. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean you have to be reading books. It doesn't mean you have to be training videos, but it means you have to be actively working to improve your game. For some people, that just means playing a lot. For some people, that means watching a lot of TV poker. For some people, that means discussing hands with friends. And for other people like me, watching presentations, reading books is what really does it. Because for me, a theoretical understanding is the best way that I improve my game. But I know that's not everyone's learning style. I think the most important thing, though, is not just to play, but to be actively thinking about the game, to be actively critical in your thought process and looking for ways to improve your play and looking for mistakes that you can be eliminating. I believe if someone's constantly doing that, be it on their own or better yet with a friend or best with a coach, a player who has more experience than them, they're going to be able to evolve their game pretty quickly. And so long as someone's working on their game harder than the people they're playing with, they're probably going to get results. And that's why I had very good results in the beginning, is because I was working harder than the people I was playing with. And when I found myself in situations where I wasn't working as hard as the people I was playing with, I no longer was getting great results. So the formula is pretty simple. It's just a matter of, when you don't want it that bad, studying isn't as fun because you don't see the extra value that comes from it. A lot of people they want to play, they want to get the rush, they want to get the high, they want to get the buzz, whatever you call it. But if you're serious about winning and your primary goal is winning as often as possible, then the more time you can spend in the books, in the lab, in the classroom, whatever you want to call it, the more often you're going to be winning when you hit the felts. And even though it's a little bit of delayed gratification, in my opinion, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, you're making poker a way of life. You're right on the website. Winning on the poker tables is a great time, but winning every day in the game of life, that's where the real fun is. I know the game for you is not just about finding a seat, outplaying people, taking their money, but it's about using your poker to empower your life, to enrich your life, correct?
Yeah, well, poker, what it did for me was poker really forced me to improve myself in a lot of ways. And my motivation for being better as a person was that I wanted to be the best poker player I could be. Because I had this ridiculous pipe dream goal that I wanted to win the World Series of Poker main event. And I wrote down all the qualities that the World Series of Poker main event champion would have. And there were a lot of things. It involved, strategy on the table. It involved mental game strategy. It involved stamina. It involved a thorough understanding of how to read people, how to manipulate people, how to invest wisely, how to be connected well. And that's what motivated me to just apply everything I learned from personal development and self-help programs over the years to, again, actually follow through and take action, which is where the magic is. And since doing that, my life has changed so much, from the kid who just sat at home playing video games, trying to make a couple buy-ins here and there, to someone who I feel, I'm actively making a positive difference in people's lives almost everywhere I go and every interaction I have, because having gone through so much personal change, I can often see where people are at and offer a little something to help them, stay on the course or get back on the course, or maybe just ease a little difficulty that they're dealing with at the time. And had it not been for me having that big driver, that platinum carrot, if you will, dangling in front of me for a good, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. Over 5 years there, I wouldn't have had the motivation or the will or the desire to actually do all those things that I needed to do. And now, having done that, I feel that I can really apply that work ethic and that understanding of those skills to anything. But it was definitely the drive to want to win a world championship that led me to actually take action and do all those things and transform myself. And I'm still transforming today. I've recently had to learn about nutrition because I'm now in my 30s, and nutrition becomes a more important thing when we're in our 30s. And I've had to learn about the importance of slowing down a little bit and not going in sixth gear 18 hours a day and not worrying about sleep. So I have to learn about the rhythms of being a human being. And every year I get older, things change. But because I desire to continue to serve and to continue to play and to continue to enjoy the game in my life, I enjoy doing all the necessary things to make that possible.
Well, love watching the stream. When I watch it, I get the sense of a lot of positivity coming through the screen. You're a positive guy. I see you walking on the treadmill. I know you're a certified yoga instructor. What has yoga, meditation, fitness done for your game? It obviously helps keep you focused.
Yoga has been absolutely life-changing. So I probably started yoga back in 2011. And back then I was just doing a form of yoga called yin yoga, which is mostly stretches, deep, long-held poses. We get in the stretches for like 5 minutes and we just breathe it out. And that helped me unwind the tension that would build as a result of constantly making decisions, constantly being under pressure, because I was playing 8 to 12 tables at a time for what I considered to be pretty reasonable money at the time, $400,000, $600,000 buy-ins per table. And that built up a lot of tension, that built up a lot of pressure. And from the frustrations of taking beats here and there or having unrealistic expectations sometimes, even though I tried as much as I could to be desensitized to the outcome, in my body, I still felt the effect of those unfortunate events, because the survival system, thinks it's in a fight all the time. So yoga and breath work and stretching allowed me to unwind that tension so my body could go back to equilibrium. So instead of being in a state of pain and frustration all the time, I was able to get back into a place where I was just kind of stable, grounded, and level, and I could be coming to things from a strong place. As my practice progressed, it's changed everything. It's made my organs stronger. It's made my focus more sharp. Meditation's made my focus way more sharp. When I get into a meditative state, I'm able to see what the next move is, what the best decision is, and kind of tune out all the noise and all the distractions that the world is constantly throwing at me, so that I can actually see what the best thing to do for myself and for the greater good is, as opposed to the best thing to do for someone else's agenda because of what they want. So adding in meditation, getting deeper into that, has been a massive game changer. And I've been on and off with it, but when I made my best content with Project Get Me Stacking, and when I first built up the Twitch channel, and now getting back into YouTube and going hard, when I'm meditating, everything is just easy, everything is just obvious, everything is just smooth, and I almost feel like I'm a superhero. And when I'm not meditating, things fall apart. That's when the quality drifts off. That's when I'm making poor decisions. So it's really good for just keeping me in check and keeping me performing at my highest. And I know that a lot of other poker players have had similar experiences once they learn how to actually unplug from the computer, unplug from the table, turn down the adrenaline, turn down the gambling urges, and just sit and be steady and breathe and clear things out and be at peace and see the reality of things for what they are, so they can see what the next obvious move is, because it's not always what we think it is. Sometimes we have to zoom all the way out. We have to get out of the forest so we can actually see the whole thing instead of just staring at a tree. Having that vantage point really helps us to see what the best move is, which we can't see when we're in the thick of it, when we're zoomed in.
Well, you're making a lot of good moves on social media with the various mediums. It's all working in conjunction. I hope you keep it up and continued success. The website is gripst.com. He's at Gripst Poker on Twitter. Now, you've had great success at the World Series of Poker. I want to talk about that, but before we do, the entire healthy lifestyle thing comes into play here, because I was surprised to learn that in 2012, when Greg Merson won the main event, you were there with him, not only at the time, but several months before, helping him stay positive, get healthy, eat right, and prepare for the grind, correct?
That is correct. Meeting Greg Merson was a completely life-changing experience for me. When we met in the summer of 2011, I was on the fence. I didn't know if I was going to stick with the game for much longer, because I was having a bit of a hard time and I was kind of left to my own devices. I was living on my own, and he just experienced Black Friday and he had nowhere to play and no real plan. And I said, well, hey, I got an extra room in Toronto. Do you want to come stay with me? He said, for sure, let's do it. And that's when I saw what real online professional poker looked like. This kid was on another level. And not only did he show me how to be a better player, he was an absolutely incredible talent. But he introduced me to so many of my poker heroes. He introduced me to Tony Gregg. He introduced me to Dan Smith. And he introduced me to Andrew Lichtenberger, Lucky Chewy, Aaron Jones, among others. Basically, all the people whose training videos I'd watched back in university when I was learning the game, he was connecting me with in real life, because he made it a primary focus of his to meet the right people and make friends with the right people who could help him improve his game, and as a result, he could help them with their game. And I was just so grateful for this, so thankful for this, that he upped my level of strategy so much. I said, well, what can I do to repay the favor? What do I have to offer Greg that he doesn't already have? He's such an incredible player. He's such an incredible talent. I don't see what he needs. But there were a couple of areas that being a little bit older and having to deal with a couple of difficulties that hadn't faced him yet, I saw some spots. And one of them had to do with fitness. I was talking about the body pains I was having as a result of the constant grinding and the anxiety. And so I've been working with a chiropractor. His name is Dr. Greg Bell, and he was a huge help for me, changing my life, turning my life around as well. So he's the one who first told us about the importance of getting body work, stretching, exercising, doing cardio. And I just paid a lot of attention to what he said, and I passed it on to Greg. And I'm not going to say I taught Greg the importance of fitness, because he too had really positive experiences with a personal trainer. Because, a couple of years ago I had a trainer, I was working out every day, and I was sober, and I won all the money. So you know what I got to do? I got to get sober, I got to work out every day, and I'm going to win all the money. And I said, cool, I'm with you. And let's throw in a little yoga there as well so we can get our relax on, and then we'll be good. Now, since he was spending so much time playing poker, because he puts in crazy hours, I think the guy was doing like 10-hour days or something, like almost every day. I took it on myself, just prep food when I could. I was already focusing on eating healthy at the time, so all I had to do was make twice the food. So I shared whatever I made with Greggy, and there was a little benefit there. But the biggest benefit that I offered him, actually, was that I just supported him and believed in him unconditionally. In everything he did, I said, you're doing great. You're making all the right moves. So impressed by you. So proud of you. To saying all the things that would keep him in a really positive state, being like, yeah, I am doing the right thing. I am making the right decision. Just to encourage him to continue on it, because I saw the potential. He was aware of the potential, but it never hurts to have someone supporting you, someone believing in you. So when the naysayers come around, he's like, no, I'm all good. I already got my team here. They're in my corner. Whereas when we don't have anyone who believes in us, and when the naysayers come around, people say, oh, you should get a real job. What are you doing playing that poker stuff? Any of the typical things that non-poker players will say to professional poker players, we might start to get in our head, oh, they're right. If everyone's saying that and no one's saying I'm doing the right thing, maybe they're right. So the biggest thing I offered was really that support, that unconditional, unwavering faith in him and his abilities, and friendship, which we both offered each other. I was so thankful to not only have someone who was teaching me how to be a better player, but more importantly, someone who I could just hang out with, someone who I could talk about anything with, someone who I could go to the movies with, someone I could play video games with, unwind in the hot tub, unwind at the pool, and just chill out. Because it's really lonely playing online poker all day, every day, and having someone who's sharing that experience with you, who knows what you're going through, who can help talk you through the tough times and listen through the tough times that you're going through, is a total game changer. So, yeah, I did do my little bit to help him with his mental game. I think the most important thing we were for each other, truthfully, was just great friends.
Well, good job on all of that, and I'm sure he helped your game as well. You recognized a phenomenal talent, and just by osmosis, I guess, you get better. 165th in the main event, 2008, and then 4 straight cashes, 2012 to 2015 in the main. It can't just be the healthy living. I mean, you got to have some play in you. Do you have a secret? Is it the structure? Does it fit your game? What's happening?
Oh man!
I mean, you almost got the record.
I know. I was one away, and I was a little nervous going into last year. Oh man! And the day of the main event, I think it was before day 2. That's last year. The day before the main event, the day of the main event, the landscapers at our house decided that was the day that they wanted to clean up the palm trees, and we're basically working with chainsaws right outside the day of the main. So I'm like getting these signs like, maybe I'm not going to get the record, but you know what? Maybe it's not about getting the record. So the main event, yeah, it definitely suits my style, because for the most part, I'm a pretty solid player. I'm a pretty conservative player. I'm capable of making moves when the time arises. when a really good opportunity presents itself, or, when I just get that intuition, that instinct that it's time to make a play. But for the most part, I play a pretty solid game. And because the main event has so many satellite players and so many people who are playing out of their comfort zone and so many people who are drawn to it for, the first time, for the novelty of it, there's some weaker competition in the mix that will fall for some tricks, per se. I've always been really big on table image, and I dress the part of, well, if I'm being completely honest, I tried to get the image of a drug dealer. So I just had some drug money and had no idea what I was doing and thinking I was just a shooter. Meanwhile, I was playing a super solid, tight game. And then I would mix in a few, really unorthodox leads and stuff that would get them to be like, this guy's clowning around. He can't have it. Put the chips in, and I'd say, sorry, bro. I got it. So table image was very helpful. The other thing is that the healthy living allowed me to have the stamina to get through those long days, because the days are just insane. 10 hours a day, multiple days in a row. Those times I made day 5, I was just absolutely destroyed by that point. So I guess I still have some work to do. But, the stakes go up as the days go on. And so being sharp later in the day is more important than being sharp early in the day. And so I've learned to pace myself over the years. I've learned how much energy to exert in the early going, and I've really used the meditation and the breathing techniques to keep my energy high at the end of the day and actually stay really charged up and kind of be peaking as the dinner break arrives while other people are falling off. That they start high and kind of fall off. So those are the main things. The fact that it's a 9-handed tournament too also plays to my style because I'm very patient. I really respect the ranges I should play from the various positions, whereas some players just want to get in the mix. They want to show their abilities and really battle it out. And in a huge field tournament like that, where there are so many soft spots, I think that going a war in the early going just isn't really necessary. Whereas if it was a tournament like, the 10K pot limit or the 10K 6 max, neither of which I've ever played because I think they're just way too tough. You got to battle. That's what those games are all about. So for me, it's the softest 10K of the year, but at the same time, I'm comfortable playing it, and therefore I'm able to play my best and just be pretty solid, pretty steady, pretty patient, pretty consistent. And the fact that I have really good people in my corner too, and really good support, people talking really good strategy around me when I'm back at the house on the breaks, helps me to see, what moves I can also mix in there. I've also been really fortunate to have some swaps with some very good players and to be able to sweat some really good players on the way to the final table. In fact, I've actually watched 3 final tables live, I think. In 2010, my friend Matt Jarvis made the November 9. Just this past year, my old roommate Griffin Benger made the November 9. And obviously in 2012, Greg, you won the whole thing. But the short response to your question, Derek, of whether or not I have a secret for it, I actually have a complete 6-hour program called My Winning System where I go through everything I apply to the main event in terms of the on-the-table strategy, off-the-table strategy. I talk about the mental game of poker, the physical game of poker, the strategic game of poker, the spiritual game of poker. I just put it all in there because I think anyone who understands those concepts can replicate my success. And I think if someone applies those concepts and combines it with a higher level of natural talent than I have, like Greg Merson, for example, they can just go win the thing. And, I would love nothing more than to get to be a coach for someone who makes the final table of the main event and help them win it again, because being there front and center, watching Greggy when that final card went down, it's just, I think to this day, it's still the best moment in my life. I remember just tearing up and a friend looking at me and being like, wow, you guys must have been through a lot to get here. And I'm like, brother, you have no idea. It kind kind of downs we had to go through before we got here. We got ourselves into some shenanigans, which I'll have to save for a future episode of the show.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Rio is fast approaching, the summer is quickly coming, and I was going to ask you how you prepare for it, but it sounds like you're already prepared. At Gripst Poker on Twitter, the website is gripst.com. One last question, and this is a compliment. You remind me of a Jonathan Little type. I mean, you seem to got it all together. You got the books, you got the videos, you got the Twitch. And I realized today doing some research for this, I haven't read that book yet, but you wrote chapter 1 in Excelling at Poker, right?
I did write chapter 1 in Excelling at No Limit Hold'em. I'm looking it on the bookshelf right now, actually. I remember Jonathan reached out to me with that project a couple of years ago, and I was just honored to get to be in a book alongside, guys like Phil Hellmuth, Olivier Biscay, Alex Fitzgerald, Ed Miller, Scott Clements, the list goes on. I was just like, really? Like, you think I'm good enough to be in your book? And he's like, for sure you're good enough to be in my book, man. Like, so you're in? I'm like, of course. Like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm so thankful that I got to get involved in that. And actually, I just wrote him a week ago to confirm my live webinar, because as part of the book, everyone who wrote a chapter is also to do a live seminar, a live presentation. And so I'm going to be doing my free one on April 15th, where I talk about the 5 keys for sustainable success in live poker, going a little bit deeper into the health and fitness stuff and how to apply it. And then on the 22nd, I'm going to be doing my premium presentation, where I'm going to talk about how I applied those techniques to the 2016 Falls View Poker Classic to get that life-changing score, $162,000 in a $1,000 buy-in tournament. That would be the number 2 highlight of my life. But number 1 is definitely watching Greggy win the main event. That was just the most unreal feeling. You can't even dream it.
No, it must have been so exhilarating for you. This has been a thrill for me, man. I appreciate your time. I requested 15 to 20. I've kept you much longer than that. Go to the website, folks. It's www.gripst.com. He's got a lot of free stuff on there, a lot of great products you can purchase. Bottom line, if you go to his website, you're going to get better at poker. Evan Jarvis, man, thanks so much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Derek. And just for the people out there who are most interested in the free content, there are some really amazing new videos coming out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Grips, including an absolutely hilarious highlight reel, a second place finish from the Supersonic last year. If you haven't watched it yet, you got to check it out. You're gonna absolutely love it and definitely laugh your ass off. Derek, thank you so much for having me on the show. This has been the best interview I've gotten to be a part of, for sure. You're an incredible host, an incredible interviewer. I appreciate you so much doing the research and actually knowing the backstory. Your listeners are very fortunate to have a host like you running such a great program here.
Well, there you go, man. I appreciate that. Evan Jarvis, our guest today, at Gripst Poker, and we are at High Roller Radio.